Advocate of Nigeria and constitutional lawyer, Professor Sebastine Hon, has condemned the conduct of Naval Officer A.M. Yerima in his confrontation with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, describing it as a breach of the law. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Hon said the officer's decision to block Wike from accessing a disputed plot of land in Gadua, Abuja, under the guise of obeying superior orders was unconstitutional and unjustifiable. He explained that the military personnel are not bound to execute illegal directives, citing Supreme Court judgments that forbid compliance with unlawful orders. Hon stressed that no service law allows a serving officer to guard the private construction site of a superior, adding that any security concerns should have been addressed through the civil police. He maintained that as the FCT minister, Wike lawfully exercises the president's delegated powers over land administration in Abuja and therefore represents civil authority. While noting that Wike's approach might appear confrontational, the law professor insisted the minister acted within his constitutional rights, whereas the officer violated both the Armed Forces Act and the Nigerian Constitution. He warned that failure to discipline the officer could embolden security personnel to defy civilian authority. The clash occurred when Wike visited the disputed sites to enforce a stop work order, accusing the developers and soldiers of land grabbing. Aiba, what is your take? This is a trending conversation. It is very controversial. Like most persons have something to say, but I am also interested to know your take on this matter, Aiba.
Russia, as a Rivers person and as a Nigerian, I am pained and seriously, angry because what I'm seeing playing out, I'm seeing a conspiracy. I'm seeing some set of individuals that thinks that Abuja is their private enterprise, that have taken the FCT as their personal freedom. Because if that is not the case, Laurentia, why would an individual, a retired naval personnel, knowing very well that there was no transaction between him and the FCT concerning that land, went on to mobilize military personnel to stop a serving minister of the FCT, who is the operational security officer under the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who is the president, from carrying out his duty. And it is very unfortunate that we are seeing civil leadership being disrespected in this manner. And as a Rivers person, I'm very angry, and we are not going to tolerate this.
You're making it sound ethnic, like
it's not.
You're saying as a Rivers person, was there any offense to Rivers State?
Laurentia, this is the first time a Southerner is being appointed as the FCT minister. And outside this incident, there have been other incidences that have been, a way of undermining the office of the FCT because it's not from the north. If the FCT minister was from the north,
you're giving this an ethnic.
I'm not giving it an ethnic coloration, but I'm just saying the reality. The FCT minister is the leader of Rivers State. Is the leader in South. I'm not giving it ethnic coloration, but I'm saying that if it was a northerner, he wouldn't have been this disrespected. That's what I'm saying.
Now, Aiba, you're saying if it were to be a northerner, he wouldn't have been disrespected. Now, giving it an ethnic coloration, one would say to a large extent, you have not made a case for me. I am trying to make it make sense to me how he's been from the South, what he has to do with this.
Laurentia.
Now, I am looking, we are looking at, was there a breach of the law? Was there an infraction of the law? Let us address issues, as it were, and not, go that way
Laurentia,
of saying he's from the north, he's from the south.
First, I am a Rivers man. The FCT minister is my kinsman. Talking about if any law was breached or not, I would say yes. Law was breached. And there's no way that a retired naval officer will mobilize military personnel to stop a serving minister that is doing his duty. Laurentia, let me tell you this. If there's anybody that the said naval retired officer should be, angry with, or is the Santos. One something that originally were allocated that very land that was subdivided to Gambo. So to me, the action of the young naval officer is wrong and disrespectful to the office of the FCT minister. Now,
let us look at the legal implications, because I do not subscribe to ethnic coloration in conversations, because it really whittles down the importance of the conversation, and also completely takes away the veracity of any conversation or any argument you may want to place on the table, because there are still Northerners, even in the FCT, who applaud the FCT minister, who also support him. So I think Nigeria, we are growing, gradually growing out of that, ethnic divide, and I want us to focus, push the conversation and direct our conversation to legality or illegality of the actions on both sides. Now, first of all, the professor who was speaking, he stated clearly, he said that there are laws that have been breached. He said it clearly that there are laws that have been breached. And he said that irrespective of the fact that the junior officer was taking instructions from the superior, that even the junior officer is bound by civilian authority, as explicitly stated in Supreme Court judgments. Now, one will say, first of all, the first FCT minister is acting on delegated powers of the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So it wasn't about the office of the FCT minister here. It was about the person of the president. Because usually they would say, when you attack a governor of a state, you attack the people of that state.
Yeah.
When you attack the FCT minister, or you disrespect the FCT minister, you disrespect the power that gave him the position that he wields, and that is the president. So for a governor, it's the people who elected him. FCT minister is an appointed position by the president. So disrespecting the FCT minister is disrespecting President Tinubu in this instance. Now, the question I'm asking now is the officer, the naval officer, and the retired General Sambo, are they saying that the president is not, whatever order A.M. Yerima was acting on that day, is it superior to the president of Nigeria? That should be the question I'm asking, because the FCT minister is acting on delegated powers of the president.
Laurentia, I don't think there's any orders in Nigeria. There is no order in Nigeria that will supersede the order of Mr. President. And the young naval officer who said he was acting on the orders of his principal, has no justification to the action he took on the FCT minister. Because the FCT minister is representing the president. The FCT minister is the operational security officer of the FCT and cannot be stopped in accessing any part of the FCT he wished to. So to me, the action of the young naval officer is unlawful and disrespectful.
All right. Now, Professor Sebastine Hon cited Supreme Court rulings in Onunze versus State 2023, 8 NWLR PT 188561, and Nigeria Air Force versus James 2002. He said, which according to him clearly established that military officers are not bound to obey illegal or manifestly unjust orders. Now, he went further to say that the illegality in that order stems primarily from the fact that no service law of the military permits a serving officer to mount guard at a private construction site of his boss, especially under suspicious circumstances like this. He also argued that the retired naval officer ought, under the circumstance, to have engaged the civil police. Now, the question is, now, the owner of the disputed land, in this instance, is one retired naval officer. And A.M. Yerima, you know, it is being touted to, you know, be one of his details. Now, if he is detailed to the retired naval officer, the question, the one would say he was detailed to protect him, right? To serve as his security detail to an individual. Was he detailed to a land?
Okay.
He was detailed to retired naval officer, right? So how come at that point in time, because I am looking at the entire scenario, in all that altercation that happened, I did not see the retired naval officer there that will warrant or justify the presence of A.M. Yerima in that land at that material time. Because if he was detailed as security to the retired naval officer, one would expect he should be wherever his boss is. So why is he not where his boss is, but he is guarding a disputed land? Is that the job of the military? Is it not to protect territorial integrity? How then has the military or a naval officer been reduced to safeguarding a piece of land in FCT?
Laurentia, first I would say that I agree completely with the son and also with their position, because in no way was the naval officer Yerima supposed to be preventing a land that is not allocated to his principal in the first place. Laurentia, I want to give you a little background in a few minutes. From the records available, that land was allocated to One Santos Limited in 2007 for a park and recreation. In 2022, the said Santos wrote to the FCT authority to change it from park and recreation to a commercial and residential. And the FCT authority in 2022 refused to grant that request. The said Santos, not minding the implication, decided to subdivide those land to individuals, including Gambo. And when they were developing that land, the FCT authority noticed that there was no document of Sambo with the FCT authority. So when they went to inquire why they were developing the land, the retired naval officer decided to, mobilize military personnel to stop the FCT authority personnel that were on their routine check twice before the FCT military was even angry before he went there. They have been chasing people sent by the FCT authority severally, and it's very unfortunate, and that is why some of us came to the conclusion that it was a calculated attempt to undermine the office of the FCT minister. Because there's no way a naval officer that was supposed to be, protecting the territorial boundaries of Nigeria, defending illegality, is very unfortunate, and I believe that that the law will catch up on him, and the needful will be done.
Now, pursuant to sections 297, subsection 2, and other provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Now, clearly in this particular section of the Constitution, the FCT minister exercises the power of the president over land administration in Abuja. Now, regardless of the controversies surrounding the land disputes in Abuja, the question is, does the FCT minister have the locus to do that? Now, the Constitution empowers the minister to act, to administer land in Abuja, like I just quoted. Now, if that is being, let's say, that's what is going on, that is what he is doing, and there are concerns around that, the right thing to have done is to go to court, isn't it? The right thing to have done is to go to court. Because I am looking at the fact that this issue is on, and going by the status of the retired naval, involved, one would say to a large extent he could have had easy access to the FCT minister to discuss this with him, to find a way forward. In fact, one would say it would even be easier for him than regular FCT residents to assess the FCT minister and bring his attention to whatever these issues he may have with regards to that land and have it resolved. Is heavily vested on him, the president. And while people might be saying, oh, this is Wike because of that name, one would say that was the representative of the president at that moment in time. This brings to mind, I think Nigerians ought to be concerned about what we celebrate and what we applaud. Usually when Nigerians do not like a person, Nigerians tend to overlook the truth, sit on the truth, and say it is okay. Just because it's this person, it's okay. But are we not setting the wrong precedents? When issues happen, we let our emotions becloud our judgments. Because after this FCT minister, there will be another FCT minister, and there will be another FCT minister, and there will be another FCT minister, and a wrong precedence has been set. Interestingly, this is not the first time security operatives are they are standing down a government official. It happened in the case of Sanwo-Olu. as well in Lagos State. He was stood down and denied access to a land under his authority. How is it that Nigerians, we celebrate the wrong things? Possibly because, you know, one is not liked or one is seen to be very controversial, you know, in the political corridors. But are we not celebrating the wrong things? Are we asking pertinent questions? Are we asking important questions that should be asked while we are celebrating this, or while Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians, because there are also dissenting voices, why a lot of Nigerians are applauding the military and are applauding A.M. Yerima, and Nigerians asking the right questions? Are the conversations being done with the right perspective? Are Nigerians, some Nigerians celebrating this, not setting the wrong precedents in a democratic government, civilian rule, with the highest authority on the land as civilian authority? The military is clearly disobeying extant laws, disobeying the Nigerian constitution, and some Nigerians say it's okay. Well,
Laurentia, like you rightly said, that it would have been some other person, if not Mickey. And for those rejoicing and praising the young naval officer, I see them as opposition members. Because one thing that politics have done to some of us is that it has blinded our understanding. And not knowing that if Wike is the FCT minister today, which is tenured, some other person will be in that office. But what are we saying? The FCT minister is doing his lawful duty, assigned to him, vested on him by the powers of the president. And that is why some of us are saying that this young naval officer, Yerima, should be tried in the military court pursuant to section 114 of the Nigerian Armed Forces Act that talks about civil offense. That if a military member or officer disrespects civil authority, he is guilty by that very section of that Nigerian Armed Forces Act. So it is on that note that we are saying that the young man should be tried so that it will serve as a deterrent to others.
All right, very well. Very well. Like I said before I move on to the next story, the questions Nigeria should be asking is that a legal posting? Was A.M. Yerima at his official posting at that material moment? If he was posted as security detail to the retired naval chief, where was the retired naval chief at that material moment? Was Yerima with the retired naval chief at that material moment? Was he posted as security detail to the retired naval chief, or was he posted to secure a piece of land, be it in the name of the retired naval chief or any other person? Because last time I checked, the retired naval chief is a person and very different from a piece of land. I think we should be asking some questions. Exactly. Was A.M. Yerima at his legal posting at that material time? And secondly, since when did soldiers, military personnel, naval officers start protecting lands? I mean, piece of lands. Since when did that start happening in the country? Where do we draw the line at this point? While a lot of persons might be celebrating this, one should be should be asking deeper questions. There are questions that has to be answered.